you know. But
he's walking, half his face didn't fall
no,
down.
hell, nothing like that, man.
Nothing physical, nothing you can look at.
Well, he was having trouble walking before. You know what I mean?
Okay. How old is he?
80.
My age, yeah.
You're not 80, dude. You're not even close, bro.
Jim and I were talking just before you came in, and Kaylin was on the things too, and I said, how actually old is Ronnie anyway? What year was he born? And Jim said to me, he was born, Michael, the year that we met in
I feel old as fuck.
In Hollywood.
Yeah.
In Hollywood.
I feel old as fuck.
You what?
I feel old as fuck.
Well,
that feels like a long time ago too for us. That's for sure.
Dude, I love the episode. I love y'all's show, man.
What?
I love this show.
No. Yeah, I know that you said that. And here, see, I had a problem though, because here, you know, you read stuff on Wikipedia, right?
Yeah.
And
are we going? No, we're not going yet.
yeah, we're going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We're always going.
Yeah.
Well, the mic's already turned on.
Okay, great. Right
Austin. Just, I like to check my mic to make sure it's working by saying Austin. I've got a friend named Austin. Anyway, so when we looked at your stuff, according to Wikipedia, you're blind in one eye and deaf in one ear, and so we didn't know whether you should sit on that side or I should ask questions over there and then jump over to this side to answer. Or?
Well, when you're blind, and let me qualify, I'm not completely blind. I'm just mostly blind in my left eye. When you're blind, it's like you still see everything. You know what I mean? You might not see something that's like right here behind you to the left, but you know, it's you know, you get used to it pretty easy. It was an autoimmune thing that happened
when you were a child.
No, it happened actually when like about probably 15 years ago.
Why did you laugh? Why? What's kind of funny about the autoimmune thing? Is it?
It's funny.
You got drunk and fell down some stairs, didn't you?
Well, there's a story, but you know, I think it might have happened from something else. But they say autoimmune, right?
Okay.
At any rate, yeah, they spent all this money trying to fucking like solve it, and I was like getting this shit called Remicade, spending like so much money. You know, I mean, it was all through insurance, and then it never helped anything.
I
like,
know about spending all sorts of money, but not through insurance though either.
Yeah, man,
and not having anything to do with medical.
Yeah, man, I know. Yeah, right.
I want to. So you and I met. It's going to be like 2 years.
Yeah.
This coming February or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 years ago, on the Law and Order. So I thought we'd just talk a little bit about that because that's where I met you.
Yep.
And Ronnie played the true antagonist. He played the true bad guy in the movie. And I was sort of like not good, not bad. I was a friend of
sort of a retired bad guy, weren't you? Or
yeah, I was like the head of a motorcycle group or whatever. You know what's funny about it is that I don't know if you ever saw it, Ronnie, but we shot in a real motorcycle clubhouse, and you know they dress us up with those with the coats and all that sort of stuff, and we're all walking around. We're motorcycle club guys, but they, at one point, I noticed that a few of them from the clubhouse were kind of watching. And I'll tell you what, like I saw 6 of them, and it would have taken like 40 of me to be them. They were all like 6'4".
Yeah.
And like the idea that we were bikers.
Yeah.
We were some tough, I was like some tough guy, head of a biker club.
Yeah.
When I looked over at these guys, it was so ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, it was so ridiculous.
Well, you know, I want to talk about organized crime, but that reminded me one time I played like the head of a motorcycle gang on CSI, and they're like, you know, can you ride? And I was like, of course. I was like, like the fucking wind. And then I went, like they are going to have the motorcycle test like that Sunday. So I went like on Craigslist and learned how to ride like a motorcycle through cones. And then when I went to the motorcycle test, they had me on this big hog. And I go and I'm like going up a little. And then the stunt guy's like, I'm like, bro, just fucking help me out here. I need the job. He's like, well, I can't really tell him that you can ride, so I can't help you. So they had to bring in a fucking trailer, because at the end I ride off the hog, and there's a trailer pulling me, so they had to hold me in super close. And then all the other, like a lot of the background artists that are my gang are real like ex Hell's Angels.
Oh, you must have felt like a real cunt.
Oh yeah, like you fucking pussy.
Sitting there doing this, like with a wind machine on your hair, and sitting there motionless as the real bikers are right behind you. Your groups.
They were like,
"That's our leader."
Yeah.
That's our leader
this
up there.
Fucking idiot. You know. I mean, how many? I mean, that's what you do, right? You just lie. They ask if you can do something. You're like, yep. You know, and I've gotten in trouble to it before. I've gotten unhired from jobs before. John Favreau.
They call that fired.
Fired, yeah. Yeah. Well, John
Favreau
Favreau's
fired you?
like, yeah. Well, it was for Cowboys and Aliens.
Yes.
And that same thing.
You didn't want to be in that anyway. Anyway.
Yeah.
He did you a favor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he's like, can you ride like the wind? Back then, I couldn't ride horses. But now I can.
He asked if you can ride horses, or asked if you could ride bikes, motorcycles.
This
horses.
is a new
Cowboys and Indians.
Cowboys and Indians, right?
Of course.
Show
horses.
up, and Daniel Bond, who's Bond? Daniel Craig was there, and you know, John Favreau's there, and I get on the horse. Same thing. I go in Craigslist before, and I learned to no, I didn't even get a chance. They wanted to see me that afternoon. I'm YouTubing how to ride a horse. Keep in mind, now I can ride a horse. Now I've done a few Westerns. But at this point, so I get on the horse, and then I'm like, okay, just go. Just get on that fucking horse. And I get on the horse, and then I'm just like, I'm squeezing my legs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this horse isn't fucking doing. Right. And then John looked at me, and then he looked at the guy, and he's like, and he walks away, doesn't even say two words to me, walks away.
And that's it.
Fuck.
That's your only experience with John Favreau?
Yeah. That's it. Oh, you worked with him, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I did. I mean, I did Mandalorian.
Right.
And he was very nice to me. And but he had a lot on his plate. I was shooting. Dave Filoni was directing the episode that I did. He's his partner in Mandalorian. He was directing the episode that I did. And Robert Rodriguez, who I saw quite a bit of, was prepping the next episode, okay?
Yep.
So they had like that unit and then prepping the next episode. And that day, they were shooting Bill Burr, and they were shooting pickup shots of Bill Burr.
Okay.
Okay, so... I met John. He kind of approved my look. He was nice. Kalen came down to the set actually one day, and he was very nice. You know,
nice.
That whole thing where they coin you. They have a coin in their hand, and they give you a. You you play bad guys. You never played a cop before, or a DA or anything.
No. What is this? What is this tradition?
You know, it's a tradition that a lot of military, a lot of police.
Okay.
They have a coin that's about the size of a quarter, and it's got like their insignia.
Oh.
You know, like Los Angeles Department of Police. You know, or fire department, and they'll just go to shake your hand, and you'll feel, well, what is this? And they've given you a coin. So I've got like 60 of them, because that's all I ever do is play cops and firemen.
Oh,
and stuff like
shit.
that.
Yeah.
Because you've only played bad guys.
I've played the guys on the other side.
Yeah. He was nice, but I didn't see that much of him. So I'm doing a scene with the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And the Mandalorian and I are kind of walking out away from town, and he's going to go, we split up at that point, right? And we stop and we have a beat. And I look down and he's got Baby Yoda on his side, right?
Yeah.
And my line was, "What is that thing?"
Yeah.
Right? And so me, being who I am, thought, well, I'm going to get in a goddamn shot with Baby Yoda. So instead of just standing there and looking over and saying, "What is that thing?" I knelt down and looked him right in the eye. So we were in the same shot, so there could be a picture of me and Baby Yoda.
Little two-shot.
What you wanted was a still of you and Baby Yoda that you could take to signings.
Amazing.
Make money with. Yeah.
Smart.
And so we rehearsed it, and we're getting ready to shoot it, and all of a sudden there was a little hubbub, and like, wait, hold on a second. John's coming down. John's coming down. And I was like, I wasn't really exactly sure what was going on, but John Favre came down, and it took him 10 minutes. He was, I'm sure, in the middle of something else, but had an eye on the monitor. And he came down, and there was a big gathering of people talking, trying to figure this out or whatever. And then Filoni, John left, and Filoni walked over to me, and he said, John doesn't feel that the Mandalorian would let you, the character you're playing, get that close to Baby Yoda. And I'm okay, I'll just stand there.
Yeah.
Even though I could have just punched him from right from where I was standing, I could have punched him.
Yeah.
And the year before, I'd watched to get myself familiar with the show, and Bill Burr's got it, and he's fucking juggling the goddamn thing, So anyway.
When you go to the cons, do they ask a lot about Mandalorian?
No. My movies. The movie that that has really kind of surpassed everything else is Tombstone.
Of course.
Tombstone.
Yeah.
Tombstone is a movie that when it came out, nobody didn't get good reviews. Mm-hmm. Nobody got nominated.
Kevin Costner had a competing Wyatt Earp movie.
Around
the same time. Yeah.
Not as good.
Didn't stand up. Not like Tombstone has. Not at all.
Yeah. Well, Tombstone did not do well. It didn't make any money. It was just considered a dud.
No
money behind it. No marketing.
Well, they might have. They might have.
Not much. There wasn't much.
Okay.
I know that because I talked to Ricardo Mestres, who was running Hollywood Pictures. He was an old colleague from Paramount when Tombstone came out, and they were the distributor of the movie, and they weren't putting anything behind it. Not much. It was really clerical. And
I heard the guy that played Johnny Ringo refused to do press for it.
That's true.
They never asked me to do press. Of course, I would have done press, and but that was a very troubled production. And I hopefully I haven't said this. So you just stop me, Kim, because sometimes I get mixed up on if I've said this before. But when that movie came out, do I read my reviews? Yes, I'm one of those people that I would like to know what people think one way or the other.
Yeah.
So, Hollywood Reporter, Variety, L.A. Times, New York Times, San Francisco Chronicle, the Texas I went everywhere.
What the fuck?
And
Nothing.
And no, they never mentioned my name.
That's crazy.
They never mentioned Michael Biehn as Johnny Ringo in all of the reviews that I could read. Now, the fact of the matter, Ronnie, it just goes to show you that people don't fucking know shit. People didn't know when the Terminator came out. It was something that fucking special.
Yeah.
People just, over a period of 10 years, and then 20 years and 30 years, that show's been played on television over and over, and the country western station and the sci-fi channel. It plays everywhere. It plays everywhere all the time. And people,
at least a dozen different networks have aired that movie over the last 2 years.
So anyway, that's.
Do you think Val Kilmer played my brother in a movie? So,
how was that?
Yeah.
How was Val with you?
Val with me was really, really kind.
With you, how was he with the other people?
You know, he would do shit like send flowers to like the makeup department and charge the production, you know. And then later on, like I would have
I didn't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Friends or acquaintances. They'd be like, "Hey, I'm good friends with Ronnie Blevins." Or, like, don't talk to me about that movie. You know, I'm like, oh, cool.
What movie?
It's called American Cowslip. I get it. It missed the execution of it certainly missed. But what I'm curious about is, okay, so Val, your performance fucking brilliant. Val's performance really, really great. But I wonder, it was so out on the limb. Like when he's saying these lines, like, you'll win a bustle. Were you guys kind of like in the moment thinking, oh fuck, he's really going for it? Or was everyone like, no, this is great? Like on set?
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
None of us knew.
Yeah.
Thing about it, it was a great script.
Yep.
And people ask me about Val, and I'm like, I don't fucking know Val.
Yeah.
I never fucking met Val. And it was only because back in the day, I was hanging out with Powers Booth. I was hanging out with Stephen Lang.
Yep.
Who I want to talk to you about because I just saw something that you did with Stephen, and who's brilliant. Stephen Lang and John Corbett and a bunch of fun. And we were the Cowboys.
Yep.
And they were the fucking bad guys as far as we were concerned. And so Val, you know, all this stuff, I don't even fucking know what it means. You know, he would walk around somewhat in character, kind of with that accent.
Yeah.
But I never had anything to say to him. I never, you know, like, hi, Val, how you doing?
Yeah.
You know, like, fuck that.
Yeah.
No, I had nothing at all to say to him. And he had nothing to say with me. Bill Paxton and I had done 4 movies together, and Bill and I went out to dinner once, kind of called it an early evening, and that's really mostly what I saw with Bill on that show. But the whole thing, Ronnie, maybe you can tell me. Maybe you know more about method acting. You know, method acting, the whole thing started in New York and Strasbourg, and I can remember being a young man and somebody handing me a book on the method, and it was about this thick.
Yeah.
And that was the end of my that was the end of my interest and or exploration into the method. Do you know any? Let me ask. I have a hard time, and some actors, we have a hard time talking about doing what we do.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit how you got started and where does that? How do you work that way? Do you like?
Well, I think I feel like the reason we don't like to talk about it is because we don't like pretense. I mean, how many times are you like, you watching these, like, you're watching actors and their interviews, or they're grabbing these headlines where like so and so, they'll talk about a movie they did 20 years ago.
That's all I can talk about. But go ahead. but go ahead.
So and so talks about how hard it was to shed his role and whatever the fuck.
Right.
It's just so fucking nauseating. But I will say that as far as like method goes, I mean, really, what a method is anything that works. I can say that if I'm if it really matters and I need to if I need to pull if I need to go listen, I'm gonna go to Budapest on Sunday and I'm doing this show, right?
Yes.
And I play this guy who loses his son. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, I have no connection to the name on a page. I have no connection to that.
Right.
But I have an 8-year-old son that's the center of my whole world.
Yes.
And as sick and perverse as that might sound, it doesn't take it doesn't take me delving too far into the imagination to kind of conjure up some pretty gnarly things. Yeah, and if that's bringing up this emotion, why would I not use it? Since this is our instrument, right?
Yes.
So that's kind of the method. Now, like as far as like, you know, I studied with like Stephanie Fury. I don't know if you knew Stephanie Fury.
I've heard that name
Yeah, she was
before.
Peggy Fury's daughter.
Yeah. See, I knew Peggy Fury.
Yeah.
You knew her daughter.
So, but we would spend hours like drinking coffee. Like, and then the heat, like feeling the heat of the coffee, how it fills your esophagus, and then we'd like, you know, and then you'd do callbacks and like to what you did like 30 minutes ago, and you feel the coffee and you describe it. You know what I mean? I think that's a different thing. That's a little weird.
Well, I'm actually, I understand that.
Yeah.
I did things like that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, like oh, I want a cup of coffee, and when you're like, you think any of that fucking did any good at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
That to you, drinking the coffee, the exercises you did in acting class were beneficial to you when you got out on a movie set and there are fucking people walking all over the place with cameras and going, Ronnie, over here, you know, like sit there, stay there for a second, you know, like a camera, you know, like that. Were you able to apply things that you learned in acting class when you were a young man to being on a movie set?
Maybe some execution of it was pretty conscious, maybe unconscious, but I do believe the work we do is cumulative, right? So my girls the other day is like, I'm watching something, I'm preparing for this thing, and I was watching a great movie called Into the Furnace with
Christian
Bale, Casey Affleck. Woody Harrelson plays a bad motherfucker, and I'm just watching him because Woody Harrelson's such a likable guy, and he's such a bad motherfucker in this. And my girl's like, you know, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm working. You know what I mean? You know, she's like, it looks like you're just watching movies. I'm like, yeah. Fucking working.
I'm trying to steal some shit.
You gotta steal.
Leave me alone, okay?
Yeah. I mean, how many times have I watched you and fucking? I've literally watched you and said, okay, what can I steal from Michael Biehn? Is there anything I can steal from Michael Biehn? You know, what can I steal from Johnny Ringo? I mean, you've probably seen so many westerns where people are like, oh, okay, he just stole that from me.
Well, let me ask you a question. Well, just to go right into something, a few of your movies, and that is, for instance, tell me about Joe. And first of all, tell me about how you were cast, and then where you shot it. And like, I remember that character pretty well because I watched it recently. And like, when you prepare for that character, is there more to it than learning the lines and learning how to sneer well?
Well, you know, okay, well, we shot that in Austin. I was shooting a movie, and I had gotten a call saying that David Gordon Green wants to see me put down a tape for it, for this Nick Cage film, right? Okay. And so I had like limited service. We shot it like we were shooting in a cabin. So I shot this kind of like half, like really, it wasn't a well done audition tape, which might have like helped me in some way. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because I was sending it in from like another set in the middle of the woods, and I did the audition, and I kind of heard David's having trouble deciding between you and another guy. So I took the script, all the other scenes, and I put those down, and I didn't even have a reader. I was like, fucking, because these are quick scenes. Yes. I put them down, holding the phone right here, just doing it. You know what I mean? Yes. Like, there's one scene where I'm beating the shit out of someone. I'm holding the phone, like, hey, motherfucker, you know? And then I just emailed him directly. I said, hey, these are the other ones. Sorry, it's a little funky because I don't have a reader and I'm in the middle of nowhere. You know, I think that he responded to that. We shot it in Austin. And, you know, it's funny you mentioned that because if I'm being completely honest, when I look back at Joe, which I think is a really, really great movie.
It is.
You know, and he's using a lot of these people that aren't actors, right? So very natural performances. I kind of felt like on that movie, it was just beyond a point in my journey where I had learned to be free. So it was like getting a new toy and kind of like going too much with it, because then I was being free, and then like when I look back as an older man, an older actor, I'm like, just kind of gilding the lily a little bit, kind of indulging a little bit.
More's always better than less, though, Ronnie.
Yeah,
as far as I'm concerned.
maybe. But you got this, and I'm not completely. I some of them I love, and some of the stuff I see was completely organic and authentic. And the way David Gordon Green works, the director, is really fucking cool because he'll just he's the kind of guy with Nick too. He's like, you guys do this scene and maybe don't say any of the lines. Try saying nothing. Now make up your own lines. That kind of shit.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Really?
I love, and I love that shit. And a lot of that, he stole from that. But so to answer your question, preparing for that, or particularly earlier on in my career, because I'd have to get the scholastics out of the way. I'd have to repetition, not even really knowing why I was doing it or what the character was about or anything.
Repetition meaning the dialogue?
Say all the time. I do the voice memo of the other lines in my phone and say it over and over and over again.
Yes.
And then there's something I feel that happens, and I relied on it a lot.
Out loud or to yourself?
Out loud to myself, everything. All day.
Right.
If you there's a point, I think, of repetition when it becomes it's stale. Okay, this is stale. It's rote. But then if you keep going, you can really uncover some really fascinating things. So back then, I would kind of do all the external work first, right? Like memorizing the words, and then almost like I would have to earn the right by really learning the lines to see what it all meant to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect.
And then, but I think that was a little bit of a kind of compensating because, listen, we all think that we maybe not all of us, but a lot of us will all say, fuck, I think I got into the game too late. You know what I mean? Or I didn't really have great training. I wasn't classically, you know what I mean? We're all we all think that we're it's imposter syndrome. So I was like, okay, my repetition, if the adage is true that hard work outweighs talent any day of the week, then I'm just going to work really fucking hard.
Yeah.
So on Joe, to answer your question, I'd finally kind of figured out how to be free and you know what I mean? But I felt it's like you get a new toy. And then I overindulged it a little bit. So when I see that performance, I'm like, hey, what's this shit I hear about this little drifter kid? I'm like, I could have taken it down about 15%.
I didn't think that at all. I thought I've mentioned this before, Ronnie, that I'm not an actor that very often or almost never looks at another performance, whether it's in front of me or whether it's on TV or whether it's on the movie screen, and think, fucking, that's terrible.
Really?
But no, I don't. I don't know. I guess I'm so into me. That's all I really care about is me. It doesn't make any difference what else anybody else is doing.
That's a great that's just like in life. You're just taking care of yourself. You gotta, you know what I mean? Yeah. You talk about Val, having a relationship with him is of no consequence.
None.
No, you know what I mean?
No, and it's not even a, at the end of the movie, when he comes out and says, "I'll be a Huckleberry," at that point, a director had been fired and all this stuff had gone down. And a guy named Jim Jacks, who's a producer who's no longer with us, worked with the Coen brothers on some of their early stuff.
Really smart guy, very well respected.
He suggested that Val and I go out and rehearse that scene. Go to the location and go rehearse that scene. So I drove out there in my car. He drove out there in his car, and we met, and it was like, okay, what's up? Got any ideas? I got a few. And, we came to the conclusion that we would not do a gun battle like we've seen every other gun battle in the history of gun battles, where you're 10 paces away from each other, that we were going to do it close.
And circling each other.
And then, and also circling each other. And so we went out and we rehearsed that scene and we rehearsed it, and we rehearsed it, and we rehearsed it. We probably spent 8 hours that day figuring it out beat by beat by beat by beat, but never said, "Hey, you want a drink of water?" Or like, "Hey, do you?" It was like
all about the work.
Yeah, all about the work. Nothing to do with his personality or my personality. But I thought that
because you were kind of a star before he was, right?
Val?
Yeah.
No. Well,
same time.
Val came out in Top Gun. Val really, I think, started to explode in Top Gun. Am I wrong, guys?
85. That's about right. Yeah.
Came out.
He did that Top Secret.
Top Secret. He was shooting
Zucker Brothers movie.
Yeah. Top Secret. He was shooting at Pinewood Studios the same time we were shooting Aliens.
Okay.
So I would say, I broke a little bit earlier than him, but by the time we'd done Tombstone, it was a completely different deal. And I think I've mentioned this before. When we did Tombstone, I did we had a cast sit down, like reading, of everything, and all the cast was there, or everybody who could make it was there in Tucson, and somebody did the reading, and then every cast member would say their line, and we got to the Latin, and I didn't know how to say the Latin, and I didn't know what the Latin meant. Val knew what it meant, and he knew how to say it.
Of course,
and
I was like, prick.
Well, that made me realize, that was like a jab. That was like a jab to my fucking game. Like, whoa, wait a second. Wait a second. I better pull my shit together. I look like I'm working with somebody here.
Fucking show off.
But I think that you'll find the same thing, and I find the same thing in sports. When you're working with somebody better than you, it helps you.
Yes. Yeah,
the better I'd rather help another actor be great, because another actor being great helps me be great, or not great, but as good as I'm going to get. It just
yeah, man, I think you're right. What was your experience with? Nick? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me just mention this before because I didn't have much experience with him. On The Rock, we really didn't have anything to do, and we did one other movie that his brother directed, which was really a rough, kind of a horrible thing. Yeah. And I think Nick had just been nominated for Leaving Las Vegas, and he was, and he was playing this like way over the top. I would think that if you have Nick Cage, and if I'm a director, I would rather like have an actor who does too much and then like pull him back a little bit, as compared to one that doesn't do anything. You're like, well, do fucking something, for Christ's sake, But his brother didn't pull him back. The whole thing was a mess. But I like Nick. He was very nice. He's obviously a little quirky but fun in a fun way. He was nothing more than a professional, which you have to be if you've done 80 movies like he has. But he said, I saw something again. It was on the internet. I don't know, Ronnie, but it asked him to name his 5 favorite movies. Yeah. And Joe was one of the his 5 favorite movies, and he's done a lot of cool movies. Yeah. Didn't mention The Rock, and
didn't mention Raising Arizona, which
I find
one of my favorite.
I find Nick was like a very always like deflecting attention, and giving respect. You know what I mean? Like and interviews, even when I wouldn't in press interviews, he would like mention me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was very kind. You know what I mean? He has a lot of reverence to the other artists. The guy who wrote the movie was this professor, Gary Hawkins, and he would prefer when I got Professor Hawkins' script. You know what I mean? Always showing like reference to
yes.
But we had fun on the movie, but also we got a chance to go to Venice and South by Southwest, and that was a lot of fun times and a lot of wild, good times.
Yeah. Well, I saw an interview you did Somewhat recently again. I saw on the internet. It might have been you.
Yeah.
Just kind of turning the camera on and talking about yourself, but it was a little bit self-deprecating, but it was a little bit like, well, I want to do this, and I want to do that. I want to play the leading man, and I want to do. I don't know if you remember doing this, but I want to do this, and I kind of want to do that, and I want to carry a movie. I want to.
I don't think that's me. This is me.
Always you. But
really,
listen, I'm not saying word for word. This is this is kind of what I got.
Okay,
out of
okay,
what you
gotcha.
were saying,
Yeah,
and it might not have been you.
Yeah,
I mean,
also it could have been Peter Sarsgaard.
No. It was you, but I might not have.
You might paraphrase.
I might have been wrong, but. And the reason I brought it up is because I watched recently a movie that, and there's so much content out there. It's fucking just impossible to see everything. But I saw this movie that you did called A Death in Valley in
Death in Texas. Yeah,
Death in Texas
with Stephen Lang.
Well, okay. First of all, you're billed first.
Yeah,
you got number one billing. You're the star. Yeah. Oh, I think maybe you said something about leading man. I mean, love interest. I don't know. Bruce Dern, Laura Flynn Boyle, Stephen Lang, and John Astin. John Astin, Jim, he's one of our favorite characters from Midnight Run. You remember John Astin, don't you? John Astin plays the other bail bonds guy.
Yeah.
That De Niro's always tricking.
He was in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, he was he was one of my close friends. He died a few months back.
Oh, he did.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. He was. I was pretty gutted by that. He beat me and him became like dear friends.
From this show?
No,
or you known him before that?
I did a movie with him called Uncle John. Really good movie. About 14 years ago, we became close friends, and I recommended him for that movie. A Death in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this was a pretty good. And again, there's so much stuff out there. You just and I thought, well, this is a pretty good movie.
Yeah. Thank you.
And that was only a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got to work with. Stephen Lang and I did. He was in Tombstone, of course, but Stephen, I've always felt is one of the great actors.
I agree.
Of my kind of, not your generation, my generation. He's actually a year or two older than me.
Yeah.
And I got into an argument with somebody recently about who it was who was on Broadway who played the Jack Nicholson role in A Few Good Men.
Yep.
And whether it was him or Ron Perlman. And somebody I think it was maybe somebody on the show was talking about it. It was Ron Perlman. It was
Leo Howard, I think.
It was Leo that was talking about it. Okay.
Who was it? Who was it?
Well, he thinks it was
Ron Perlman.
He thinks it was Ron Perlman, and I thought I remembered it being Stephen Lang because Stephen Lang. When I went up for Avatar.
Yep.
Okay. What happened on Avatar was that I'd done 3 movies with Jim, and he was going to do Avatar, and I called my agent. I said, "Is there anything in Avatar for me?" And my agent got back to me, and he's like, "Jim doesn't think there's anything really in it for you." I was like, "Oh, well, can I read the script?" And anyway, and so. I got a hold of the script and I looked at it. I looked at the role Stephen Lang played. I'm like, "Fuck! What do you mean there's nothing in it for me? This is me. He knows that. What the hell's
what the fuck?
What the fuck is right?
So what do you do from then?
So I call up Jim and I ask him if I can come in and talk to him about Avatar, and he says, "Yeah, sure, come on in and talk." So because I didn't used to audition, Ronnie, I used to be able to tell a director how I was going to play a role, and what I was going to do, and what the motivations were, and how I saw the role. And every once in a while, some of the dialogue from the script would slip into my, presentation on the character. And I thought I laid him out. I just thought I totally laid him out. He at that point, canceled his next meeting that he had, who I think was Jacques Cousteau's son.
Okay.
And took me down into his screening room, and he showed me the footage that he had put together via however he did it to show 20th Century Fox to get the green light on the first $100 million or whatever it cost to make. Do you know what it cost, Jim, to make that movie about? Or
What are you talking about?
Avatar. Anyway,
it was over 200.
237 is what
Thank you. Thank you. To get the $140 million to make the movie.
Yep.
And at that point, I kind of thought, like, I've convinced him I can play this role. And then I left, and I didn't hear anything. And then I'd have my agent call, and my agent would call and speak to John Landau. And John Landau was his producer. We lost John earlier this year, and John produced a number of his movies. And John used to get back to Ed and say, you know, he still hasn't made up his mind about that character, but I thought I had a really, really good chance of doing it.
Yeah, and obviously it didn't. Do you think he already had Stephen Lang in mind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he probably did have Stephen.
Great in that too, though. You know what I mean?
And I would have been I might have been too much for Jim to handle. Because,
really?
Well, when you're working with somebody like Jim and you're working with for the first time, it's kind of like, okay, well, this is, and I had a relationship with Jim that I'd been like, well, I want to do this, and he's going to be on steroids, and he's going to be like trying to hold on to his job, and he's going to be like, he's going to be big, he's going to be, and I had a whole thing, and was it you? Yeah, it was this young man right here was friends with John Landau's son.
Okay.
They went to school.
We went to school together for pretty much our entire school.
They went to
12 years.
They went to a school called Oakwood. It was a private school.
I knew John. John was great. I used to go over to his house pretty often. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that near Venice?
No, he was in like Woodland Hills. Studio City, Woodland Hills.
Okay.
But this one right here came over to me, or came home one day from school. I don't even know if you remember this. But
I remember you being up for that movie, and I remember I had English period, first period in the morning.
There you go. You tell the story.
I had English period, first period in the morning with Jody Landau, his son, and I knew you were up for the movie. And so I'd always go up to Jody and I'd go, "Hey, what's up with Avatar? What's going on with Avatar?" And I think he would say the same thing that John was saying. I don't know.
Producer in training.
Like father, like son.
Yeah. He's like, "What do you want from me, dude? I'm in algebra class." Oh my God, dude. So
well, just let me finish this story, because one day, Kalen came, and I don't know if you remember this part of the story. Okay, Kalen came back from school and said, "Dad, I just talked to Jody, and you're not going to get the role in Avatar because Jim wants Sigourney Weaver in the movie, and he thinks that having Sigourney Weaver and you in the movie would be too much of a, aliens reunion."
Redux, yeah.
You're like, fuck, that makes sense.
Yeah, fuck.
It's like one thing, it could have been just arbitrary kids talking, but if it makes sense, you're like, God, that's probably right.
Yeah. And it also could have been, because I've heard Jim been asked about this before, and it also might have been that I went in, I thought I gave this great presentation, I thought he canceled this appointment to show me that, I thought he was that interested in me, and just didn't ever talk to John about casting one way or the other, and went on casting. And in my mind, I think we've probably all done this on auditions where you think you've killed it, you killed it. I've got this. And then you don't. And I think there's one end of the spectrum is he was really, really considering me, and when Sigourney got on board, it was no longer Michael Biehn. The other end of the spectrum would have been he might never have been really think he might have just wanted to show me what he was, because we were kind of friends back then, you know, before he got so, you know, big and, you know,
well,
he just wanted.
And there's a story that I reposted recently on YouTube of him initially telling you about Avatar right after he had done Titanic. And he called you into his office and you said, what are you doing next? And he had a script for Avatar and he had a script for Alita Battle Angel.
Yep.
Right.
And that was, and you were going, which one are you going to do? So you might have wanted to show you, look, I'm doing Avatar and this is what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
10 years later, whatever.
He would have to do those movies when the technology caught up to them.
Right.
He wasn't going to do them right away.
Which was another 10 or 12 years later, which is another kind of brilliance, to have the patience to wait that many years for the time to come that your vision of what that movie is going to look like will really come to bear.
Right.
And then, of course, he gave Alita Battle Angel to Robert Rodriguez, who, have you ever worked with Robert?
Nope.
Have you met him?
Nope.
Yeah, you'd be good for Robert would like you.
Yeah.
You're from Texas,
Robert
right?
lives in Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where does he live? Where's of course his whole
Austin?
Everything's
Massachusetts?
Austin, yeah. You know,
Well,
you know,
but I think that I think that you are going to work with Jim again. I think that there's more.
Here's the thing. Would I like to work with Jim again? Of course, I'd love to work with Jim. Looking back at Avatar is not, and all the motion capture stuff is not really. Hope Jim never hears this, but it's not necessarily an actor's dream.
Right.
You know, it just when you got all that stuff on and you're made to look like whatever those are they called avatars? They're made to look like avatars. It would seem to me it would be hard to create, diversified characters and deep characters when you've got all that stuff on. And
I agree.
A lot of it would be technical.
Yeah.
And so as things turned out, they turned out. And here's the thing. That I think about. People say, "Oh, when are you going to work with Jim again?" or whatever. I said, "I don't know, but I'll tell you what. Jim is 70. Okay, Jim works out every day, and then works for the other 18 hours of the day, and he eats really, really
clean,
well. And of course, now he's got access to the best health care of anybody in the world." And I think that guy will be making movies well into his 90s. I mean, look at Ridley Scott.
Or Clint.
Or Eastwood.
Or Clint Eastwood, you know. So, and whether I work with him or not, Ronnie, it's it has nothing to do with, hey, if I do a Jim Cameron movie, then, hey, that'll put me here. And then that'll put, it's just being around a genius, which is kind of an interesting thing to, to be and be around, and especially somebody who's a genius in that world.
Yeah,
and to be around that. And listen, I got to spend 2 years of my life with him when he did the Terminator, when he did Aliens, and he did The Abyss.
Right.
And so I've been. Really lucky when it comes across. Let me ask you. I'm gonna give you a scenario that is not good. I want you to explain to somebody that's not me, because I kind of know what it's like. Yeah. But when I was shooting Law and Order with you, you were telling me a little bit about Emancipation.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I liked you, and we got along really well. And hey, we'll hook up, and which we didn't. But but
I blame you.
vice versa.
Go ahead.
I don't think you were in town. You might have been in. I don't know where you were. Anyway, so I went home and I watched Emancipation. Now, how many effing weeks and or months did you work on that movie?
It was about 6 months, and it was supposed to be 2 months. Now, in there was like about 3 weeks to a month where we got sent home because a hurricane wiped out our sets, you know?
Okay.
But it was a really, really brutal shoot because we're shooting, it's a Civil War film. We're shooting New Orleans in the middle of the summer. Hot as, unimaginably hot. Cooler trucks everywhere. People are dropping out every day. You know, there's a couple times when I'd be like, and then they'd pull me into like, you know, give me an IV, you know? So it was just because of the conditions, it was really rough, you know? But it was also rough because the nature of the movie, you know what I mean? And this was pre-slap, so we just kind of all were thinking this is going to be the next, you know, glory.
Yes.
Let the slap change things. But also what sucked for me because I played listen, Ben Foster plays the main.
Yes, he does.
I guess they were called bushwhackers, slave hunters. But there was in the original script that Bill Collage wrote, you know, we spend the whole movie pursuing Will Smith.
Yes.
And then when I finally catch up to him at this burning plantation in the original script, he's holding this young girl, and he's like, you know, water. I need water for her. And I have this like this kind of like inspiration of like morals and consciousness, and I give her the water. And as I'm giving her the water, he kills me. And I always loved that because it wasn't playing into tropes. It wasn't like good guy by bad guys. Like it's like, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, I'm just saying that like
was that in the movie?
Huh?
Was that in the movie?
No, a few days before. It's just I catch up to him.
Okay.
I catch him and that really kind of bummed me out.
Yeah. What did you have a lot more to do in that movie than what you saw in the final cut?
Yeah, we shot a lot more for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And it got cut and it got cut out. You know, I was surprised, Ronnie, when I saw that movie that the whole fucking movie, it seemed to me, was Will Smith running through the fucking woods. I mean, I don't know how, you know, then cutting back to his wife and child, and it's like, and you guys on horseback chasing it. I mean, Ben
Foster.
Foster, thank you. Ben Foster, who's a brilliant guy, more your age than my age, but he's right there. He's one of the best of your group.
Yeah.
You know, they had him. He didn't do anything either. He had one scene, okay? Yeah. So nobody does anything in the movie except for Will Smith.
Yeah.
And it's him like being chased through the woods. He doesn't have any dialogue with anybody. Yeah. And I just thought like, and the production value on it was incredible. I don't know how much money they spent on that movie, but my God, it was like incredible. But there was nothing other than like, let's shoot Will Smith running this way. Let's shoot Will Smith, you know, and I'm not trying to downplay the movie. What I was originally trying to talk about was the fact that you're on the movie for almost 6 months or 8 months or whatever it is, and you've got some dialogue here and maybe some dialogue there, and Ben Foster's got some dialogue here and some dialogue there, and you've got this great moment at the end of the movie, and you know, that band of group that was they were just nameless, faceless people. Yep. And I thought that was very disappointing. And when Ben Foster did get a chance to do his 2-minute, 3-minute monologue, and we all know he's a brilliant actor. He's a fantastic actor. Jim, and I don't know if you saw the movie, but they basically, the words they gave him to say had more to do about we got to keep the black man down, because if we don't keep the black man down, they're going to become stronger and smarter and smarter and work harder and take over the white race. Yeah. which to me was not an argument back then that anybody would have had or had. And you know, they needed people to pick their cotton really cheaply. Right. And I was.
They never saw black people as being capable of overtaking them back then.
Yeah. No, that's what I thought too, and I didn't know if Ben had anything to say. Were you there when he shot that scene?
Yeah, I mean, I was in the scene. You know, I think. Well, Bill Collage is a great writer, fantastic writer. You know, he had written so many versions of this, always rewriting. You know, and I know that monologue changed a lot. You know. And I really can't speak much to that.
I know you can't because it wasn't you.
My big disappointment with it was, and I was very proud of the movie, you know, all that shit. But the slap colored everything, like, you know what I mean?
It really did.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask specifically.
Go ahead.
What did you think when you were watching that and you saw that slap happen, knowing that this movie was his next big movie? Was just gonna, like, what were you thinking when that happened?
Oh, I thought it was staged.
I did too.
I thought it was staged. I thought, it was a joke, and then it became apparent that it wasn't. But what bummed me out is Bill Collage had written this really, really great script, textured, where the bad guys aren't all the way bad, and I mean, you know what I mean. Like, of course, we have the benefit of foresight to say, well, listen, if you're on the wrong side of history, you're bad. But he did his best to make these guys, you know, like I said, originally there was a kind of an inspiration of moral judgment from my character, and then at the end of that, Antoine Fuqua just wanted all that out, and I said, hey, listen, man, I think we run the risk of them saying, you know, accusing us of having cardboard, or me being a cardboard cutout if we don't have that in there, and you know, and
did you shoot the scene and it didn't get?
No,
you never even shot it.
Yeah, in fact, he wanted it even a little more egregious when we got there, and you know, throwing out words, and I'm like, okay.
Right. Yeah.
But you know, I'm proud of the movie. I thought it was beautiful. Antoine Fuqua is a really great director. He directs these incredible action movies. Like so. Really, it was kind of cool. They wanted to do like an action movie of the time. You know what I mean? That's why you have this running because he's a shooter. You know, he's a very smart shooter, Antoine Fuqua, and he wanted to make an action movie. And you had Robert Richardson shooting it, who's one of the great DPs. But we just thought that it was we kind of approached it with this great deference, and it was going to be something really, really terrific. And I think it was really, really great. But I just think
there were very high expectations for that movie. It was seen as like another Glory.
Yeah,
and there was a real Paul cast over it with that slap.
Another thing that I thought while I was watching it, though, I don't think there was any doubt in anybody's mind that Will Smith was going to make it back to his wife and daughters.
Right.
Was it a daughter and a boy, or was it just a daughter?
Yeah,
it was
both.
It's been a long time since I saw it. So kind of that suspense is he going to make it? Is he going to make it back? They cut back to them, cut to him, cut back to him. God damn well know what.
He's going to make it, and also it's based on a
book in which he makes it.
It's based on a real guy they called Whipped Peter.
The guy that was with the famous picture.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was based on that guy's picture.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it was, but it was a great experience being in New Orleans for 6 months, and Apple was actually really kind. They'd fly my family out whenever I wanted them to.
Apple's a company that everybody wants to work for.
I'd say they'd fly my family out whenever I wanted them to. They never made it out, but no, but you know what I mean. They were really. It was New Orleans is such a romantic, great town. I love New Orleans.
So you basically were based in New Orleans, and then you went.
To LA.
Linda Hamilton lives there now.
Yes.
And
Ron Shelton has a place there too. He bought it after he made Blaze 30 years ago in New Orleans and fell in love with the place.
Oh yeah. Ron, We once were producing a film, and we tried to get Linda Hamilton, and we heard our producer heard. Well, I know this is back in like 2006. She loves weed, so we sent her the script with a bunch of weed, with like a thing of weed, and she called and she's like, "Listen, I'm gonna read your script, but don't ever send me weed." She didn't send it back. Hey, I got a funny story for you, if I may tell.
Please.
So we're doing organized crime, right? Me and Michael, and and the reason I'm bringing this up because I never quite qualified it, and it's like so cold. It's like close to 0 degrees, and it's like. And so we're rehearsing with these warming jackets, and it's Michael's big scene, right? And he holds his gun, he has this big intense moment, and we were talking. He's like, I'm thinking maybe at the end I just say boom, and then I'll jump. And we agreed that I was going to jump, right? And then there's this big moment. We're actually shooting it. The warming jackets come off. They call action, and I just feel the cold getting to my bones, and I feel just like the synapses that connects the choices to the action just shutting down, and then it's this tense moment, and then Michael goes bang, and instead of jumping, I just stare at him, and then afterwards they call cut, and I can just see Michael look at me and say, "You fucking dick." I was like, "No," but I never quite got a chance to tell you, "No, dude, I was fucking freezing."
Well, no, you didn't tell me you were freezing, but what you bring up, Ronnie, is something that I think that actors love doing and love creating something that's not necessarily on the page. Yeah. Originally, at the end of that show, I just run around to that side of the car. You're the bad guy. Yep. I'm trying to save my daughter. We kind of get her out of the way. You've put me through so much shit. There's a gun laying there. I reach for it, and I hold it on you. Yep. And Maloney's character is like going, no, like as in don't shoot him. But what you and I did in that we had nothing to do. We never spoke to each other. We had nothing to do. But what we decided to do, what you and I decided to do in the 30 seconds that we were on screen was something. Number one, we decided I wasn't just going to reach in and grab the gun, but there was going to be kind of a fight, but a tussle over who gets the gun. Great. So number one, we created suspense of like, wait a second, who's going to get the gun? Who's going to get the gun? Who's get the gun? And then I come back and I get the gun. Yeah. So now I have probably stole that idea from someplace else, some other movie or something. And so I was pissed, and I wanted to scare the fuck out of you. Right. I wanted the audience, and I wanted you to know, fuck you. You know, that's that moment of what it fucking. I've been feeling like for the last 2 weeks. You've had my daughter or whatever. Right. And so, I mean, again, I don't want to retell the story necessarily, but I'm holding the gun. Christopher Maloney's character is running around the car saying, no, don't do it, Yeah. And I had said to Ronnie before, hey, Ronnie, why don't I do this? And Ronnie was like, oh, that's a really fucking good idea. I like that idea. Bang! And he looks at me like, yeah, and so.
Like I said, I was right. I felt like a dick right after, and we did the take again, and I did it.
I know you did. I know you did.
And
Ronnie.
I was free. I think it was like a brain. I think I was caught watching you. You ever get like that? I was caught watching you. I was like, oh, fucking.
I watch myself all the time. Yes, I get caught all the time watching myself. Jim can tell you about Jim. Tell Ronnie about the mirror in the Volkswagen.
Michael and I were roommates years ago, and I would get in his car to go someplace, and the rear view mirror would be focused down on my face. That's it. Michael drove so that he could always look at himself.
Well, Jim, when you got a face like that, you want to fucking, you got to admire it, bro. Dude, so yeah, no, it was fun.
But and so you did. And nobody said to us, hey, wait. This is a scripted show. This is Law and Order. We don't do things where we don't, Yeah. Nobody said anything to us about it. We just did it. But I think that it would have been more effective if it had been scripted that way and shot that way, and they would have had a closer on you and at the final thing. And the moment I was trying to get, they weren't prepared for, so they were still wide on you and wide on me. And but that to me, Ronnie, that moment that we had, that we said, well, you want to try this? Yeah. We'll do that. Okay, let's both. And you know what? I'll come back. I'll do the gun. Right? Yeah. And yeah. Let's do that. That kind of excitement about how do we make this movie better? How do we make this moment better?
Yeah, man.
To me is like the most exciting part.
Agreed.
I get like,
agreed, man.
That's acting. That's like
it.
adding something other than, okay, well, I'll say these words and I'll say these words and I'll say these words,
Yeah.
And that to me is what makes it.
I agree, man.
It all kind of fun.
Yeah.
And when you can be creative that way and you can give something, and this is what I've always said about confident directors like Cameron and Rodriguez and Michael Bay and people like that, when they hear an idea that's just as good as their idea or maybe even better, they'll just go with it.
Best idea wins.
Because they don't have, there are a lot of people that don't have the confidence that it wasn't my idea. It's not in the script. I don't know what somebody else will say. No. Don't do that. Don't do that,
Yeah, man. For so long, I felt like I lived in that fear. Like, but no, I don't think I do much anymore. You know what I mean? And are there any moments that like you can think of that are like great Michael Biehn moments that were born out of the born? There's more.
I've got so many of those moments.
They were born of the moment, like literally oh fuck, I just did that.
Well, I was talking to a woman the other day, and the one that I'm probably most proud of is in a Jim Cameron movie, and that is when I am captured. And I'm in the Terminator. I'm doing the Terminator. Kyle Reese gets captured after the big car chase, and he's talking to a therapist. And he's telling the therapist, this is going to happen, and that's going to happen. This is who I am, and this is who she is. And they're kind of watching it from another room, like on a, you don't realize it at the time, but like on TV, it's a record.
Yeah.
And I said to Jim at the time, Jim, I think that Kyle, would be smart enough to know that this guy can't help me and notice that there's a camera in the corner of the room, like most interrogation rooms that will have cameras. And I'm from the future, and I think I would know that was there. And my memory strikes me right. I was supposed to play that entire scene to the psychiatrist.
Right.
This is going to happen. He'll wade through you and tear your fucking arms off, or whatever I say at the end of that fucking movie. And instead, at one point, 2/3 of the way through that scene, pleading with that guy and getting angry with him, I turned my focus away from him and I put my focus up on that.
Great.
And because I did that, the end of it and the most intense part of it, Jim kind of comes in closer or I come in close. I forget. Yeah. I mean, it's a stationary camera, but however he did it. So by the time that you're done with it, we're not in a 2-shot anymore, or just a single on me. I'm staring up there, and I'm staring at the camera.
Right.
And that's an idea. But and Ronnie, I have.
Do you remember him saying, "Fucking, I love it"?
No, but he did it, so I know he did.
Yeah.
And Jim has always been a person that if you have, I have, loads and loads and loads of ideas that Jim has said, do that. And it's not just me. He'll do that with any actor who's got an idea that he thinks works for his movie, and makes his movie better. But I was in I saw a woman the other day that told me how much she liked The Abyss. And there's a scene at the end of the movie where I'm crazy, and I get in a fight with Ed Harris. And I get to the set. I'll tell you a funny story about this day also, but we went to, I think we rehearsed it the night before. Okay, so we go to the set, and I see these chains that are like, you pull this side up, and this side, pull this side down, this side comes up, pull this side come up, this side comes down. And I thought to myself of, Jim, what's that famous movie with Michael Douglas where he cheats on his wife?
Well, Basic Instinct.
Basic Instinct. And who's the woman, the crazy woman in that?
Oh no, Fatal Attraction.
Fatal Attraction.
And who's the woman I'm thinking about?
Glenn Close.
Glenn Close. Remember the scene in that movie where she's got a light and she turns it on, and then she turns it off. She turns it on. She turns it off. She turns it on, and she turns it off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was something about that was like, oh,
right.
She's fucking out of her fucking mind, you know.
Yeah.
Wacko.
And I'm
went nuts. She went nuts.
I'm not sure if I was really thinking about that at the time, but I think there was something about that performance that made me grab that chain. And I'm just sitting there by myself.
Great.
And I'm just doing this chain up and down.
That's
and
great.
Up and down. All right, now I've got to tell this story, and Caitlin knows this story, and Jim certainly knows this story. Unlike Linda Hamilton, when somebody sends me a joint in the mail, so we go to shoot this scene the next day. Okay,
Yeah.
so anyway, we've decided. Jim's already thinking. You know, okay, well, I got this. Michael's doing this weird thing with the chain, which really works or whatever, you know, and Ed Harris doing this. So for whatever I got sent mail, and I had opened it when I got home from work that night, and it was a friend of mine named Timmy Colseri, who plays the door gunner in Full Metal Jacket. We've actually had on the show before. Worked with Kubrick, and he's just a funny, fun, interesting guy. And he sent me a joint in the mail, and he has a friend of his, country western singer. It was from his friend, the country western singer, Johnny Lee. I think the guy's name is Johnny Lee.
Yeah. Looking for love in all the wrong places.
Okay, well, I was smoking a joint in all the wrong places. So I'll kind of get.
Shit.
What
country were you in?
I was in
South Carolina.
I was in Gaffney, South Carolina, which is a country you don't want to be. You know, that's one you might not have heard of, but you don't want to be there. It's a different country. So anyway, I was in South Carolina. So anyway, I get the. I got the Bill Paxton story I'm going to tell sooner or later. But maybe today might not be the day for
I was going to tell a Bill Paxton story.
Well,
so what happened?
So anyway, I'm on my way to work in the morning. You know, it's 5:30 in the morning, and I'm a fucking wake and bake guy, especially if I haven't had it.
Yeah.
You know, so I fucking big fat doobie. I fucking take 2 or 3 huge fucking hits 1970 like. Those kind of fucking hit, you know, off this pot. And I got fucking blasted.
Yeah.
I just got fucking blasted because I hadn't smoked for 2 weeks. I wasn't smoking dope down there. I wasn't smoking any pot. And since I hadn't smoked, anybody who smokes marijuana knows if you haven't smoked for a while and then you smoke, you get all that more high.
Yeah.
So I show up and I barely make it, get my clothes on.
Oh, fuck.
I barely make it through makeup, you know, without giving myself up. Just very quiet, you know, and go back to my room.
Paranoid as hell.
And paranoid, of course. I'm just blazing, and finally get called down to the set. And I come down to the set, and I'm sitting at the set, and I'm I'm on a knee. I remember being on a knee, and I remember Jim Cameron walking by and saying, "Hi, Michael." And I remember thinking to myself, I'm so fucking stoned. I hope I can get out. Hi, Jim, back. That's how fucking stoned I was, right? So I'm sitting there, and things are going on, and I look up. I swear to God, Ronnie, this is the fucking truth. I look up, and I see me. I see myself about 10 yards away from me on the other side of the fucking room.
What the fuck?
It's me. It's fucking me. And I'm looking at me, and I'm saying to myself, how can I be over there when I'm here? I don't fucking understand.
Here, there.
And you talk about paranoid. What the fuck is going on? That's me. That's me. And I kind of had my back turned a little bit, and I saw myself turn around a little bit, and I realized it was my stunt man in my complete outfit. My God.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
But there was about a 6 or 8 second period of time in there where I was like, how can I be over there when I'm here?
That's hilarious. By the way, how many too close for comfort drug stories as it relates to law enforcement in and around a location shoot do you have? Because I heard another one where like maybe you had replaced someone and then you were in Europe and there's like the cops were coming back to the house.
Okay, wait. This is I'm kind of getting into your time.
No,
here,
I love it. Come on, this is great. This is what it's good.
I probably told you this story.
I love this story.
Okay, all right. I'm going to tell this story. Okay, this is 10 minutes. We're going to almost have to go out on this. All right, Ronnie.
Great. I love it.
All right, so James Remar is over in England. He gets busted for drugs. And they basically booted him out of the country. I get a call on Thursday from Gail Hurd. Says we had to get rid of Remar. He was doing drugs, and we fired him. And he's come on over. So I left on a Thursday. I was over there on a Friday, and I started shooting on Friday at Pinewood Studios over in England. Bill Paxton, Sigourney Weaver, Jim, Gail, and they had us staying in a little town that was right next to the studio called Slough, all right? The town itself is as ugly as the name. The original office that Ricky Gervais did was based in the town of Slough. Okay.
There's a very popular Apple TV show about it now called Slow Horses, and they.
Oh, does that take place in Slough?
Yeah, it's called the Slough House. Okay. That's where all the reject MI5 agents go, and Gary Oldman just berates them. Yep. It's a fantastic show. Wow. Go ahead.
So, but it's a shithole. I mean, it's out in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, I'm not living here. I'm going to go live in London, man. I can, it's 45-minute drive into Pinewood Studios from Chelsea, which is the Beverly Hills, Melrose Place crossover, and that's where I'm going to live. And I started talking to Bill about it on Tuesday, saying I'm not staying in Slough. And I understand why Jim stayed there. Jim and Gail stayed there because they could wake up, put on their clothes, and walk into the studio. Right. But I didn't. There were going to be times that I wasn't working, and I didn't want to stay there.
No.
So I talked Bill into talking to his agents and my agents, and we got places in
Chelsea.
In Chelsea, yeah, thank you. In London. So I get in a car that Friday after work, and I'm with Bill, and there's a place that's been set up for Bill in Chelsea, and there's a house that's been set up for me, apartment for him in Chelsea, and a house for me in Chelsea, right? So we get in the car, and we're driving, and as you do, it's a Friday night. We want to get some pot. Yeah. So we went to an area in town. It was called Brixton. Okay. So we go to Brixton, and we score like a bag of pound. We used to call it a lid. It was, like whatever, bag of pot. Yeah. And we go into, drive into London, and we're looking for our apartments. His apartment, my house. We don't know where we're going exactly. But we want to get there because we want to smoke this pot we picked up in Brixton. So I can remember stopping once and asking a Bobby, an English cop, "Hey, excuse me, can you tell me how you get to Chelsea and what road we need to get to the King's Road on Chelsea?" "Oh yeah, you just go up here and blah blah blah." And I pull off, and Bill's like, "What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing?" I'm like, "What?" He says, "We got pot in the car. What are you doing? Are you crazy?" I go, "It's Remar's car. The pot's in the back, and if anything would have happened, it would have been Remar's car and Remar's pot." Right. So I wasn't worried about anything, right? So anyway, we go in, we go to the King's Road, we find Bill's house. It's more like an apartment. Right. And, the front room is about as big as we have here. Whatever this is, 20 feet by 30 feet or whatever. That's the main room. And the front door is like right where the front door is where you see, okay? So we get there, we take the pot out, and as you do back in the day, pot used to be full of seeds, and it used to be full of stems and all that kind of stuff. So we take the pot, and we put it on a table, just like this, and we're taking the stems out and taking the seeds out, and he's rolling a joint, and but it's spread out. It's spread out all over the table. And so anyway, we smoke some pot, and again, because he hadn't smoked, totally blasted. We get really high, and it's like, okay, Remar just gotten fired. 4 days before this, for drugs. For drugs. So we decide we're going to walk up the street. Turns out my house is only about 3 blocks away, and we're going to go check out my house. So he makes me a little baggie of pot, and I put it in my hand. And back then it was cold. It was getting close to wintertime, and I had an overcoat over my hand like this. And we walk out of his house, and we start walking up to the King's Road. As we're walking up to the King's Road, we're laughing, we're stoned, we're having a good time, we're laughing our asses off and walking. All of a sudden, there was something that just felt, there was a noise behind us, right? And it was like, what the hell is that? And we turn around, and there's 4 fucking. You could tell they were cops or military. Yeah, you could tell. Yeah, but they didn't have on. They didn't have on a Bobby's
uniforms.
They were what you'd call like an undercover cops. Right. They were all in suits. They all looked the same. And from about 20 yards, as we turned around, I got a bag of fucking pot in my hand. Oh. They were running full fucking speed, at. There was nobody else there. There was nobody else around us. At us. Full fucking speed. And what's going through my head is, Jesus Christ. I came over, to replace Remar, and I got this bag of, and these guys came running, and they just fucking blew right by us. They just blew right by us. They were obviously after somebody or something else, right? God. So this scared us so badly that I said to Bill, let's just go back to let's forget about my place for the time being. Let's go back. Yeah. So we go back to his apartment, which was a 3 or 4 minute walk. And we walked back to the apartment, and it was kind of set back. And I had the pot in my hand. I was so scared that there was a hanging planter in front of his house. I took the pot and I put it inside the planter. Yeah. I was just like, I was scared. Yeah. And by this time, Bill and I are getting ready to go in his house, and we're laughing. Oh my God, what the fuck? What was that? Those are cops and stuff. Oh my God, that's unbelievable. Oh, and we're laughing and we're having a good time. And he takes out his keys and he starts to open the door. And we feel this presence, and we turn around, and those cops are standing.
What the fuck?
The cops are standing right behind us. And then it was obviously they were cops. They identified themselves as police officers. They wanted to know who we were, what our names were. They wanted to see our identification. They wanted to know what we were doing in London. And
you got the stems back on the table.
Inside of the house. Yeah. Inside, they start, and my name's Michael Biehn. I came over here to reply.
You're like, you don't know me?
No.
You haven't seen Terminator?
Yeah.
They and Bill's like this, and they said, "Well, are you staying here?" And I said, "Well, Bill's staying here. Bill's staying here." And they said, "Well, let's go in and talk about this." And that's how what cops do. I've been around enough cops to know when they say, "Well, let's just go inside and let's have this conversation indoors," right? And so Bill takes his keys and goes to open the door, and I yell, "Don't open that door!" Which all of a sudden, like, everything just changed, like a major hurt. They don't carry guns, but, if they would have been, they would have been, like, reaching for one. Don't open that door! And at that point, things got like, what's going on? And I started going into, I'm from America, but like in America, like from where I'm from, that if you want to go into somebody else's, house or you need a search warrant. Now, I don't know what the laws are over here, but you need a search warrant to go inside of the house. Is that the law here or is that not the law here? And as it turned out, it was the law over there. They couldn't just fucking ask you. They couldn't just walk into your fucking house. Bill was ready to fucking open that fucking door up, right? Now, what happened was that we spent 5 minutes or 10 minutes talking about who we were, the fact that Bill lived there, the fact that they had no right to just walk in. And I wasn't acting like a tough guy either. I was just like, in America, we, and I don't, think that it's fair that, I wasn't being like, listen, motherfuckers, nothing like that, But they knew they were in the wrong. Yeah. But, cops do that. Oh, what's inside your car, Oh, what is that? You mind if I look?
Yeah, mind if I look,
Yeah, people, go ahead and look, And so they ended up we just wanted to see if you lived here. They kept saying, we just wanted to make sure that you lived here. We just want to make sure you lived there. I go, he's got his keys right here. So we ended up making a deal, and the deal was with them that Bill would take his keys, open the lock, open the door, and close it.
Yeah.
To prove that we lived there. And that was the deal that we came up with.
That's a great story.
So we did that, and Bill opened the door, and they closed it, and they said, all right, that serves what we need to know. They weren't after us in the first place, but as soon as they got around us, I'm sure they knew we were stoned. They could smell it on us. They're cops. They were looking.
That's a great story.
They were looking to go inside. But ever since then, I always I was fine because my pot was, I didn't have anything in there. But at the moment they would have walked in the door, which was right here, they would have seen fucking the whole fucking ounce of marijuana fucking spread across the front of Bill's table.
Yeah.
And I always claimed that, I saved to Bill that I saved him from a serious fucking at
being
least
the second cast member.
The second cast member, probably not because it was pot.
Yeah.
It was pot. Yeah. It wasn't heroin. But Jim Cameron would have been really fucking pissed.
Is Jim not a weed guy?
Well, no, he's a movie guy. Anything that puts his movie in any kind of jeopardy, yeah, he's going to be really fucking pissed, you know. And if they had come in, found the pot, called the police, he'd have to go to the police station. I didn't have anything at that point, right?
Yeah.
So Paxton, for 10 up until the point that he died, we argued about the fact that I caused the tensions to rise very, very quickly and loudly because I yelled, "Don't open the door." And I claimed that, well, you were already willing to open the door, and if they would have opened the door, they would have seen the pot, and you would have gotten busted, and you would have gotten a serious tongue, if not something else lashing from Jim Cameron.
Bill was probably like, we're already fucked, right?
I don't know what was going. Afterwards, he seemed to try to, like, you know, kind of be like a tough guy, like it was like, not a tough guy, but like it was your Michael. You shouldn't have fucking yelled that. You shouldn't have yelled that. You know.
That's funny.
You know, but I knew enough. You know, I'd done my Hill Street Blues. I'd done my research. I knew enough that cops are always trying to talk their way into your house. And well, let me just step inside. And you know, if you're smart,
we can talk
you're
about
like,
this
you
inside,
know, you talk outside. So
that's a great story.
Didn't I? Is that the story
love
that
it.
I?
Yeah.
That's the same story that I told you when
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it,
okay.
man. Wow.
Jim, you know that story. Did you know that story?
I didn't. You never told me that story.
So many good stories.
You told me that story, and I got such a kick out of it.
What else do we want to talk to Ronnie
Well,
about?
the Paxton story that I always got a kick out of was when you first met Bill doing Lords of Discipline.
Well, we did. We talked about that one
Yeah,
on the podcast.
With the
Coke?
when you were rehearsing a scene.
Oh,
When
yeah.
You're talking about
Go
actors
ahead.
rehearsing a scene together.
This
and
is
you
true,
and Bill,
too.
you had just met Bill, and you were going to do a scene in
This is on Lords of
and-
Discipline. Right.
Lords of Discipline, which you made before, obviously before Aliens.
Wait for
And this
his
is where-
close up.
And you just kind of met Bill, and you guys are going to do a scene together, and you rehearse it, and you got it set, and the camera's just about to roll, and you looked at Bill, and you said, "You're not really going to do it that way, are you?" And you just completely took him out of his whole mindset. And Michael and Bill did,
I walked by
Michael
him.
and-
Yeah. Go ahead, Jim.
They did 5 movies together, and that became a running gag between them. through all their movies.
man.
I walked by him and said, "You're not really going to play it like that, are you?" And then just kept walking, you know. And then I walked back in front of him before they rolled, and I go, "I mean, if you want to do it, that's fine. It's not what I." But yeah, go ahead. Just do whatever.
Oh man.
And that became sort of a running gag, as Jim
dude.
said. Thanks for contributing that, Jim, to the. I think
It made me laugh. It's made me laugh.
I told
ever since
the
I first
story.
heard it.
I told a story earlier, a couple of weeks ago on this about Jim and I getting popped by the director doing Blow.
Yeah. Oh, with Jay. Well, yeah, that was the Jamie Kennedy episode, right?
I don't know.
I think you
I
did
think it
tell.
was.
Yeah.
That was a great episode. He seems like such a fun guy.
He was very fun.
He's very fun. You know,
Super open.
I just hope he doesn't go off the deep end. You know, he has a way. He's got he's got this big beard. He looks like he's fucking my age, and he's like, he's a conspiracy guy.
Yeah.
You know, when you're a real conspiracy guy, it's pretty easy to go kind of, you see the Statue of Liberty? It's not really the Statue of Liberty. It really represents the devil. And the reason, and it's like, whoa,
look at the
Jamie.
back of the dollar bill. If you see up in the corner, that's Satan up there.
Well, I got turned on to his podcast by listening to y'all's episode, and as far as him going off the deep end with conspiracies, I think the ship has sailed. But it's fun. It's fun to watch. It's fun to
He was a sweet guy.
Yeah.
I didn't have as much fun with him as I had with you, though.
Oh, stop it. Well, dude, I'm so excited for you. And not to put you on the spot, but can you talk about what you're doing? You're doing something cool.
What am I doing, Adam?
Yeah, you can talk about it.
I'm doing a big movie.
Yeah.
That I just found out about a month ago, and it's called Onslaught.
Okay.
And I think it's the director is Adam. What is it?
Wingard.
Weingart.
Yep.
Wingard.
Some say Wingard, some say Weingard. I've only talked to him once, but he made some independent movies. One of which I saw, which was very good. I think it's called The Visitor. It's about a guy who shows up at somebody's house who's lost a son overseas in the military, and he says guy shows up. I was with your son when he died, and the family kind of takes him in. He turns out to be bad news all the way around. But he then did a lot of different things.
He did another really fun movie called You're Next. Kind of like a horror slasher.
Okay.
Very fun.
Yeah. He's a very talented guy. He's only 40, and he did a movie called King Kong versus Godzilla. Okay. Which is not a movie like I'm normally like, oh, I got to go see King Kong versus Godzilla. But I watched it, and it was like really very, 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 very well done, and it made $500 million.
So this is a studio movie.
Yeah. A24.
Fuck yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
You like the part?
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
You know, I've only had a Zoom call with him.
Yeah.
He very, very nice. Very, very nice. He's a real sweetheart. He told me that when he was 12, he had a Michael Biehn fan club.
Man, dude, I said, as brilliant as you've been for so long, I think your best work is ahead of you.
Yeah. Well. Well, I hope so. It's a really, really good script. It reminds me a little bit of The Terminator, and really bloody, very vicious, and what's the name of the martial arts?
Alex Pineda.
I don't know if you know martial arts, but MMA. He's like
lightweight UFC heavy.
If you mention him around, he plays kind of. I don't want to,
I got you.
I don't want to give too much away, but he plays. I would say let's just call him the heavy.
Right.
And it's got a good cast, and I start shooting in January.
It's fucking A24.
I know. I've been like for 5 years. I'm like, I see A24, and I'm like, oh, that was a really good movie, and then, oh, that was really good. Now, anytime I see A24, I just know it's a good movie. Except for the one yours was A24, right? Didn't you mention one earlier today that was A24? Or was it just 24, or was it? I thought you said something about 24, A24. Okay. So yeah, it's called Onslaught, and they've announced me along with some other people, and it's exciting. It's exciting. But I've kind of gotten to that place. I just want to go in, do the best I can, contribute whatever I can, and then, it's not like I'm looking to build a career anymore.
Right.
But I'd rather do that than go out and have people pay me to meet me.
Right. Yeah.
But that's a lot easier when people just go, here, can I shake your hand? Take
But
give me my money.
But the thing is, it's like that's the thrill is not gone. You know what I mean? You're excited to get up and do the thing. And that's something to get excited for.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and actually, I did 2 little movies. Neither one of them are, they're okay. Neither one of them turned out that great. But I did one in Bangkok 2 years ago. I think right before I worked with you, and one in Australia. And it's kind of fun, It's fun. It's what I do. It's the only thing that, being a father, I'd like to think that I'm a good father. Yeah. But it's the only
right.
What?
You're all right.
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah. But acting is the only thing that I'm like really, really good at. So it's fun to it's fun to hang out to do that.
It's weird when you really think about how we backed ourselves into a corner of not really being qualified to do much else.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And I'm just a middle class actor. Hey, but fuck it.
Listen. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
I'll hope you. Thank you, Jim, and Kaylin, and that was fun. Yeah. And I'm all out of Bill Paxton stories now, but other than that, it was fun to talk to you. You're a very good actor.
Thanks,
You're
man.
a very good actor. everything I've ever seen you in. You stand out, and I'm really happy that you could come and kind of share a little bit of the inside and the outside of it's not just you show up and you're a fucking movie star. You know, there's, you know, like you said, when you were talking about the work that you put in, you go over and over and over and over, and you still don't think you got it. Now, I'm happy that you're finally at a place that you go over it and over it and over it and over it, and you go like, man, I think I've got it. So, safe where'd you say you were going?
I'm going to Budapest on Sunday.
Budapest.
Yeah.
Safe travels.
Thanks,
How long are you
man.
going to be over there?
Until right before Christmas, just shooting a FBI International.
Okay.
Dick Wolf, another Dick Wolf show.
Dick
In fact,
Wolf.
I'm thinking it might be the director we worked with, maybe.
Oh, really?
The director that we worked with?
On organized crime.
Really?
Yeah. Because I looked, there's only like a handful of them that cycle through, and it's in Budapest. Remember him? He was a little.
Oh no,
he seemed a little Hungarian or something. He was definitely somewhere like Eastern European. You know. He was. Do you remember this guy?
Of course, I remember.
He was fun,
him.
dude. He was great.
Let me. In 2 seconds.
Yeah.
No, 1 more minute. And I just want to say that, like, he was a shooter. Okay?
Yes,
he was a shooter. He, he's one of these guys who's just great with a camera. What I respected so much about Maloney was, you remember that sequence where you guys all come driving in with a car, and we drive in with our car, and people are getting out of here, and people are getting out of there, and it's fucking freezing out. That director had no fucking idea how to block that scene. Yeah, and it was Christopher that basically said, "Okay, here's how I think we can do it.
Yeah.
This happens first, and then the cars come around. This person gets out. He gets out this side of the car. We two get out of that side of the car." And so he choreographed that, and it was cold and everything. But anyway, that was a huge sequence that director, there's no way he could have coordinated that. And and some people say, I worked on the show, and Christopher, he seemed like he, didn't have much time to be friendly. And I'm like, dude, there's 40 Teamsters on that show. Yeah. He's got a lot. He's carrying a lot on that show. Yeah. But I'm glad I met you. I'm glad that show brought us together.
Totally, man.
Good luck in Budapest. And if you see that director, ask him if he still has the autographed call sheet that he had me sign for him.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, I will, man. I will. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Much love, dude.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Jim. Thank you.